welcome. Well, it's a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Fund coming soon. We have seen Bitcoin crossing the $106,000 mark for the first time ever. This really on reports that US President elect Donald Trump may actually go ahead with a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Fund. Now, what does this mean? Will prices continue to surge further going forward? To answer all these questions, I'm joined by Vikram Subburaj, the founder and CEO of Giottus. Thank you so much for joining us. You're, of course, the founder and CEO of a cryptocurrency exchange in India. But for our viewers to understand really, what really is happening with Bitcoin, and will this fresh record high now mean, and talks of a strategic fund coming in place now mean that we will continue to see more highs as far as the Bitcoin is concerned? That's really the big question. And the second big question is, how will a strategic reserve fund really change things for cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. Thanks, Sakshi. Thanks for inviting me here. So the first biggest question is US getting into a strategic reserve in Bitcoin. How significant is this move? So to understand how significant this move is, we'll have to understand what has been happening in the ecosystem for the past at least 2.5 years, if not much before that. So if you understand, this is a much more newer asset. Maybe it is a 15-year-old asset at the max. Any asset class needs adoption, right? Now, Bitcoin, we are talking about $2 trillion of market cap. Just a month back, we were all in the ecosystem rejoicing the fact that it has crossed silver's market cap, which is $1.7 trillion. So why this move is significant? Now, imagine in the last 2.5 years, there have been a lot of intervention from the US front, especially from the SEC front on both cryptocurrencies and also entities which are providing cryptocurrency services. It was one of the tough times that the ecosystem faced, where they were thrown in with a lot of legal issues that they'll have to face. They'll have to prove that they are not collecting funds as part of security, and they'll have to prove that it is not a security but a different token. And they'll have to enter into all these kinds of issues in an ecosystem which is just budding. Now, move 2 years later, you get a president who is crypto friendly and who's openly come and said, the first thing he said, and which has already happened, by the way, is that he will sack Gary Gensler, the head of SEC. So if you notice, Gary Gensler is already out. He's already said that 20th will be his last date. Again, why 20th? That is when Trump is swearing in. Right, so the first thing has already happened. The movement in prices have also, been related to this particular instance. Now, the second thing, now Trump made a lot of electoral promises. Right now, the biggest question always was, is he going to do all that? Now, when Bitcoin reached 100,000, if you have noticed, the price again corrected, went down to 93,000. And after that, it has picked up again and has crossed $104,000 now. Now, why this move? Again, it has to do with Trump keeping up his promise. 3 days back, he came out and said that in one of the interviews that yes, he is going to look at a strategic reserves. Now, why is it so critical to, for a country to have a strategic reserves? Now, if you notice, as I was saying, adoption is the key. Now, imagine a country as big as a country like US holding Bitcoin as a strategic reserves. Now, this will have a lot of its trickle-down effects on other institutions, other retail investors as well, hop on into this asset as a strategic investment for themselves, right? Now, US has strategic investment in gold, in petroleum, in a lot of other assets. No other country which is as big as US, people would quote, there are countries which already have strategic reserves in Bitcoin, for example, El Salvador. Bhutan, our neighboring country, has got more than $1 billion in its books, which is in Bitcoin. Now, but having said that, these are all small countries. They don't affect the global economy, when they try to take an asset and say, hey, there is my strategic reserve. But imagine US, which is going to have Bitcoin in its books. That is a big thing. It is going to send a signal to a lot of people on saying that, okay, hey, a country like US is doing it. Why not a lot of institutions do it? As a matter of fact, the last bull run was heavily driven by institutions adopting to crypto. Now we have a couple of more factors. A year back, ETF came in. Now, ETF had a very, very successful, amazing run. It is not just Bitcoin, Ethereum, the second largest crypto. Ethereum also got an ETF. Now, in this market, which is we are considering it's going to be a good bull market for at least some time to be there, we might see a lot of other assets, maybe Solana and all other layers getting into an ETF. So, ETF plus a pro crypto president. Plus, we all know that there is going to be an interest rate correction in the quarter that is going to be it's going to come forward. So interest rate correction is going to create liquidity, and liquidity is going to enter into the markets, which again is good for the ecosystem, not just for crypto, for equity markets even. All these factors put together seems to be a good concoction for this particular market to have a very good run for at least next 12 to 18 months is what we believe.
Right. So that's really as far as all the expectations are concerned. But of course, the new, like you mentioned, the Bitcoin has indeed rallied over 50% since, of course, the November US election results, really. But, what I really want to ask you is, look, there are regulatory concerns. And now with US president coming in who has a friendly approach towards cryptocurrencies, like you were saying, how will the rest of the world realign themselves? Do you think the spotlight really comes into place as far as the rest of the world as well as norms are concerned for cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. So Sakshi, so let's consider this. This is not like US has done it. Now all other countries are magically gonna switch hats. They're gonna go extremely pro crypto with extended arms. It's not gonna happen that way. Countries are gonna take time. Even consider India, for instance. We are gonna take time in understanding this particular asset because regulating this, it's not an easy task. More and more people have tried to regulate using the existing laws and existing norms. Then people have tried to understand, the governments have tried to understanding that, okay, we can't do that. Maybe we can pick and choose certain existing norms, but you'll have to build something that is particular for this ecosystem. So it is going to take time. But having said that, we should also look at from this point, this is a good beginning point. Now, earlier, as I said before, it was only smaller countries. We had an example to say. But when a larger country like US goes pro crypto, what really happens? This is a good scenario for all other countries to understand and also to see if I implement the particular laws what US is implementing, these are the results that they've already seen. So it becomes easier for countries, even like countries like India, to have an example which is already set, which is not in a small country, but in a large setup like US. Now, in G20, if you remember when India was hosting the G20, all the G20 nations, they had taken an oath that they will have a common regulation that they will try to build for cryptocurrency. Now, this will actually help them. Now, when they have an example to follow, when any one of the G20 countries tries to frame something, it is going to have a larger effect on all other countries. So, yes, it is a very good move considering it's the beginning. It's going to start a new race. It's going to start a new habit. But it is going to be like a magic wand that everything is going to change within a month? That's not going to happen.
Right. Well, you just heard a key expert there saying that, look, while of course this is the need of the hour, regulation really, a common ground for regulation really could also be the works in the future. And of course, we will see how this space really pans out. Thank you so much for sharing your initial thoughts.
Thank you, Sakshi.